Welcome to Insectech's Ethical Hacking course videos, module Basics of Linux. The reason why we have included this module in our course is, if you want to become a real hacker, you need to have at least the basic knowledge of Linux based operating systems. Since we cannot cover the in and outs of Linux, I'm just going to cover the very basic stuff in this video to give you a basic idea of it, so that you can start exploring to an advanced level on your own. In this video, we will look at introduction to Linux, fundamental Linux knowledge, Linux file system, and some basic commands, and one Linux distribution for hackers. So let us start. Linux is a Unix-like computer operating system. It is available for free and it is open source. And you might be wondering, you might have heard the word kernel a lot of times. Kernel is the heart of any operating system, and it is the lowest level of easily replaceable software that actually interfaces with the hardware in a computer. It is responsible for interfacing all your applications that we are running in user mode down to the physical hardware, and it will allow the processes to get information from each other using inter-process communication. So whatever the applications that we are running on your Linux or whatever system, in order for them to communicate with the hardware, this kernel will act as an interface. And now let us look at the Linux directory structure and the file permissions in Linux. Let me open my Linux operating system, which is Backtrack. Type a simple command which takes me to the root of the file system or the directory, the root directory. Now if I give the command ls, it will list out all the files and folders that are there in the current directory. And in my root directory of my file system, you can see some interesting directories are there. One is bin, dev, and proc, var, sys, boot, etc, lib. Let us go through some of these. And the very first one is bin. This is the most important directories in Linux, and if we get into that, I'm just going to use the command cd, which stands for change directory, and I'm just going to change my directory to bin. So I'm just going to navigate into bin directory, and now we are in bin, and I'm just going to see the directories and files inside this particular bin directory. And you can see we can find out many commands here: make, dir, lsmod, ls, login, less, kill, ip, hostname. You can see many commands, and these are the commands that we use. And let me go back. To go back to the previous directory, I'm just entering the command cd space dot dot, and the next one is etc. So let me move into that etc directory and list out what it is. This particular etc directory hosts most of the configuration files for Linux. So if you observe these files, all these many of these files will be of the Linux configuration files. And the next one, if you go back, let's look at dev. I'm just going to dev and give a ls, and you can see these are all the devices that our system can use. You can see RAM, sequencer, SDA, TTY. You can see all these these are all the devices that are being that may be that can be used by a system. And I'm just going back, and the next one is boot, and this is where our actual Linux kernel will be. And we have one more important directory, lib, lib cd space lib. Just get in and press ls, and this particular directory contains all the library files. Programs may be use these library files to carry out their functions. And the next one is one more important directory, this is home. If you get in, home is the directory for storing our personal files. Since I haven't stored anything in this particular directory, it is not showing anything with ls. And we have couple of other important directories which I am not touching right now. And the next concept is man pages. This is very important. This particular man command shows the manual for a particular command or a program. It describes how to use the specific command and what are the different possible options for that particular command. For example, if you don't know how to use ls, it will give you the manual for this ls command. You can just you can simply read this particular ls and you can understand how to use this. This is one more important command in Linux. Now let us look at the file permissions in Linux. To check the file permissions in Linux, you can just simply give ls-l within a specific directory. It will list out all the files and their permissions in that particular directory. And I'm just going to check the permissions of this particular if.py file in my home root directory, and you can see the name of the file is if.py. It is created at this particular time and on this date, and this is the size of this particular file, and owner of this particular file is root, and this is only one file, and it has the particular owner has read write executable permissions on this file, and the particular group to which this owner belongs to has executable files, and others also have executable files. Others means the rest of the people who are not from this particular specific group or owner. And specifically there are three types of permissions we have that Linux allows for each file. One is read and write and execute files. Read, write and execute files. Now I'm just going to modify the permissions of this file using the command chmod. I'm just going to give 0 permissions. 000 stands for the first 0 is for the permissions of owner. Owner will have 0 permissions on this file, and the specific group will also have 0 permissions on this file. It represents the next 0, second one, and the last 0 represents the rest of the world who are not from this particular group or owner will also have 0 permissions on this file. And let me give if.py, and now check the same file. You can see nobody is having any permissions on this particular group. Similarly, you can even specify read permissions only for owner, write permissions only for the group. Similarly, you can do some similar kind of things. If you give 777 on the same file, read write executable, all these three permissions will be replicated on all the users. One is owner, group and the other users. So this is how we can change the permissions using chmod command. And the next one is make dir. This is just to create a directory. I'm just going to create a directory called insectx, and you can see one directory has been created with the name insectx. Now let us get into this insectx directory, and now let us list out. Since we haven't kept any files in this particular directory, it is not showing anything. And we have one more important command, which is grep. Grep is something like finding out something. For example, let us create one file in this particular insectx folder, and this file's name is text1.txt, and I'm just going to add some content, which is insectx ethical hacking videos, and I'm just saving it. I'm going to create one more file in the same directory. I'm naming it as text2.txt. Let me open it, and insectx Perl scripting videos. Let me save it, and let me create one more file in the same directory, and let me name it text3.txt, and let's write some content into that. Insectx Python scripting videos. Save it, and now close it, and let's go back to our command prompt, terminal. In Linux we shouldn't call it command prompt, it's terminal or shell. Now let us execute this grep command. This grep actually tries to find out the text that we give. For example, I want to find out insectx word in all the text star. Now you can see the text insectx is there in text1.txt, and it is there in text2.txt, and it is there in text3.txt. It is actually looking for the word insectx in any text file that start with text, and the star makes sure that grep will look for the word text in all the files starting with text. Now let us use the same grep command for Perl, let us say, and you can see it is returning only text2.txt. Now let us look at the command tee. This particular command is used to write the text that is actually appearing on the screen into a file. But the problem with this particular command is we can use it along with pipe. Means, let us say I have ls-l, and I'm just going to pipe it, and I'm just going to write it into one file insectx, or else let's first move into the directory insectx, and now let us give ls-l. We have 3 files actually, and let's pipe into a new file which is record, let us say. And if you go to your insectx folder, one more new file has been created with the name record, and the data which is actually appearing on the terminal has been written into this particular directory using into this particular file using the command tee. So this is how we can use tee command. in Linux. And the next one is greater than symbol. This is also very similar to our T command, but we don't need to use pipe with this. For example, ls-l, I'm just going to write it onto record 2, let us say. Now if you go there, you can see record 2 and the text has been entered. Now we have one more simple operator. One is double greater than, and write record 3, go back and see. It's great, it has written the data very similar to our T command, but the very basic difference between this greater than and double greater than is the double greater than operator will append the data at the end of the file. Even we can do the same with T command by just giving the switch -a to it. Let us write into the same record, and if you go there, the data will be appended without actually being overwritten. You can say this. So this is how we can use some basic Linux commands. We have couple of other interesting commands. Let us try who to see who have logged in into your system recently, and we can even check the current user with who am I, and root is the current user, you can see, and you can even check the present working directory, which is root. If you get into insectx and if you type the same one, this is the current directory, we can see root insectx. And the next one is ifconfig to see your IP address. You can see on interface eth0 we have 10.0.2.15 and has the hardware address, and on eth1 we have this particular IP address and we have the hardware address here, and we can see the subnet mask, we can see the broadcast address. And to see this kind of interesting things, you can just go with ifconfig, especially for your IP address. We have gone through file permissions, we have seen some basic commands, and now let us look at Linux for hackers. And in this slide I'm just going to introduce a new operating system especially developed for hackers and security professionals. If you are a normal Windows user and if you want to perform some sniffing attack in your LAN, you need to download some sniffer like Wireshark or a Kane-Enable or any other tool that can be used for sniffing attacks. Or if you want to perform some web cracking attack on your neighbor's Wi-Fi, you need to download some web cracking software that can be installed in your Windows system or any other operating system, and you can use it. Here comes the beauty of Backtrack. If you are a Backtrack user, all these tools are pre-installed. You don't need to externally install those softwares. All the required software which are famous softwares, famous tools and software for hackers are already installed in Backtrack operating system. Even if you want additional tools, you can simply install them as we install in a simple Linux operating system. So from here onwards, we are going to use the Backtrack operating system in many of our attacks, and it is recommended to get habituated to use Backtrack operating system during your hacking attacks. So that's all with this Linux basics video. Thank you.